What's up, guys? This is Anime Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Sage of Six Paths, Part 2. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like, and if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more crossover fictions with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 3. The group is back together, the next day, with Naruto. Naruto's pupils dilated slightly in response to the sun's rays, then slowly opened. Morning. He sat up slowly from his dozing couch, opened his joints, and peered out the window. The ninja and his new friends had moved into the flat because Rei was exhausted and scarred from her encounter with the insane man, and Naruto knew that one's mind needed rest to calm down. As a result, the samurai persuaded the teenagers to sleep for the night. He cautiously maneuvered around the black-haired boy and went to the kitchen after seeing Takashi asleep on the floor after allowing Rei to take the bedroom. He opened the refrigerator, one of the few familiar objects in this world, took out a bottle of water, and drank it to the last drop. The samurai then walked over to the window and placed Tenkaichi next to his belt bag, shuriken scabbard, Takashi's metal bat, and Rei's improvised weapon. Naruto prepared his belt bag, scabbard, and looked at his clan's emblem hanging from the base of the handle before slinging the blade over his right shoulder. Then he heard movement and turned around to see Takashi wiping his eyes before rising to stretch his limbs that had been lying on the floor. "How are you this morning, Takashi?" "I feel better now that we've slept. I think a long rest was necessary after yesterday," he said as he and Naruto stared out the window at the chaotic world. Takashi's brow furrowed quickly. "Wasn't it all a nightmare?" The shinobi shook his head and cast a sidelong glance at him. "Unfortunately, no," the blonde had hoped for when he set out on his quest for the keys, but he's here now, assisting his two new companions in rejoining their party. "You should get up, Rei. We need to get moving if we're going to find your friends." Takashi nodded in agreement. He took up his bat and went into the chamber where Rei was sleeping to wake her up. The boy emerged a few minutes later, followed by the female, who waved at the samurai, who waved back. Naruto's palm was lowered. "How are you feeling, Rei?" "I feel much better since we rested for the night." The masculine couple stared at her when she didn't finish her sentence. "Thank you, Naruto, for saving us, especially me." Naruto frowned as he noticed the girl was still scarred, despite being a powerful lady. An event like hers, combined with the turmoil in their world, had to have pushed her emotional state over the edge. "You're welcome," Naruto said, looking out the window, "but we should get moving because the sooner we leave, the sooner we can find your group," the two high school students agreed. Later, Naruto emerged from the house, armed with a kunai, Takashi with a bat, and Rei with a weapon. They discovered the motorcycle outside near the entrance, as well as 5 of them, nearby. Naruto came to a halt and looked behind him to see how his companions were doing. "Stay here, I'll handle them," Naruto said as they were about to argue, but Naruto stopped them with a glance. The latter walked out into the open, facing forward, waiting for one of the zombies to attack him. But, to his surprise, they didn't attack, especially since one of them walked right past him as if he didn't exist. Takashi realized the former was unaware of the vulnerabilities when he looked to his friends for solutions. Naruto. Almost all of their senses are dead, but they are sensitive to sound, no matter how small, the ninja exclaimed as he removed the threat. He drew 5 shurikens in a hurry and hurled them at the 5 corpses, receiving thuds in return. Naruto exclaimed to his companions, "Clear." The ninja stood beside them as the latter two emerged from their hiding place and mounted their motorcycle. "Are you guys ready?" he inquires, receiving responses and anticipating. "Let's go," Takashi said as he started the motorcycle and accelerated toward the police station, Naruto sprinting alongside. Another site near a bridge. The road leading to the bridge was congested, with people strolling by carrying shopping bags. One of the vehicles is a van carrying 2 groups of Fujimi High School students. The driver was clearly tired, slouching against the steering column. She has long golden hair that reaches her hips, green eyes, ridiculous curves, and her most noticeable features are her massive J-cup assets, and wearing a white dress shirt with a torn brown skirt. Shizuka Marikawa, the school's nurse, is now a medical examiner, doctor. 2 members of her or Takashi's party are seated next to each other 2 seats behind her. An overweight adolescent boy with dark eyes and black shoulder-length hair, dressed in Takashi's outfit, snored against the window. His name was Hirano Koda. Saya Takagi, the mastermind of the group, sits next to him. She has long pink hair that is pulled back into 2 ponytails on either side of her head, orange hair, wrinkled brows, a slim body, and F-cups or bikini model breasts. Finally, she put on spectacles and dressed similarly to Rei and their best combatant, Seiko Busujimi. She was seated directly behind the couple. The former has long, straight, and glossy purple hair, blue eyes, and D cups, and she wears the same outfit as Rei and Saya. Her eyes were closed as she sat with her arms folded, clutching her Bakken wooden blade. The other group, led by Shido, a former teacher at their school, is in the back of the van. He's currently preaching the end of the world scenario and how he'll save everyone. Saya was ruminating on something when she became irritated by the boy's breathing and decided that nap time had come to an end. "Stop, Hirano," the girl said. Kota scoffed in response before opening his eyes and looking at her. "Hello, Takagi, is it already daytime?" Takagi sneered as she noticed a substance emerging from the boy's lips. "Yeah, it's morning, and you're drooling." "I'm sorry," he said, wiping his brow with his palm and staring out the window at the nightmare traffic jam. "Look at that. I think you should flee to the suburbs." "Cars are the only way out of here," Saya said, motioning out the window to the sky, where an aircraft flew by. Hirano got what she was saying. "Oh yeah, the airport and the ocean, right?" The savant then discussed the American troops in Okinawa, as well as the special defense troops, and how they keep a small town alive. "I should have talked to Kamuro if he was still here. He would have an answer or know what to do from here," Takagi said, knowing her childhood friend had solutions to the current problem. Hirano was hurt by the remark, and he looked out the window. "I know you enjoy Kamuro." Takagi flushed and rose to her feet. "Don't be ridiculous." She felt two presences behind her and spun to her left, where she found Seiko and Shizuka, still flushed from Hirano's remark. "What?" Seiko took a look out the window. "I'm concerned about Kamuro and the others, and I'm hoping they'll be able to hold out until we meet." Also in town, Naruto, Takashi, and Rei. A detonation occurred near a structure next to an overpass in the sky, with several vehicles in the cars with enough space between them and people shrieking from the fear that washed over them. A naked, hairless man with gauze on his left wrist and a tattoo fired a firearm at a corpse. The young man burst out laughing. "Run like hell," he exclaimed, continuing to guffaw and fire. The three were waiting for their company under the overpass. When they realized what had just happened, Rei was the first to speak up. "This is completely out of control. It's like a war." "And we're right in the middle of it," Takashi said, looking at the samurai. He couldn't figure out how the blonde kept up with a motorcycle while showing no signs of exhaustion or lethargy, but he remembered his new friend's remark about telling them about him once they were back with the group and in a safe location, so he faced forward. Naruto bowed his head slightly, taking note of the girl's remark. "This isn't a war. This is nothing compared to what I went through." He lifted his head to face the devastation and considered the best course of action for them to take, but he couldn't come to a decision when Takashi mentioned racing through the area and revving up the motorbike. The pair were startled when the shinobi jumped in front of the motorcycle. "What are you doing, Naruto?" he inquired, casting a glance over his right shoulder. Takashi was about to object when he realized he wouldn't be able to persuade the blonde, so he grudgingly bowed in agreement. Naruto dashed forward, sprinting towards the devastation. As he approached the devastation and the frenzied people as corpses, the ninja quickly drew shurikens from the shuriken scabbard and waistbag. Before they could notice him, the samurai launched the rotating missiles at them, and he collapsed to the ground, while the speedster continued to run. When he reached the other side, he came to a halt as he heard the motorbike approaching and saw his new companions emerge and pause behind him. The two gentlemen nodded, and the high school students continued on their way, Naruto close behind. Takashi later saw the bridge and his eyes dilate when he realized something wasn't right and turned left, perplexing Rei and Naruto until the latter got a brief glimpse of the bridge as he turned left and realized Takashi made the correct decision. "Why did you turn, Takashi?" The bridge was straight ahead. The man came to a halt on their left side, and Naruto followed suit. Her childhood pal looked over his right shoulder. "I know, but did you see it?" His response prompted Rei to examine the bridge more closely and exclaim in surprise at what she saw. At this rate, Rei and Takashi say, looking at Naruto, who has his arms crossed, "We don't know when we'll be able to cross." Takashi made the right choice. The latter was complimented by the redhead and stated, "We'll meet the teachers and others at Onbetsu Bridge." "Lead the way," Naruto instructed. Takashi started the motorcycle, and the three combatants were off. Back at the bridge, police officers with water cannons were spraying those who crossed without permission and warning the rest to be cautious in the future. Evening. Split bus. The survivors. The bus was still stuck in traffic as the sun set, and everyone knows that driving at night is more dangerous than driving during the day. Shido was still talking to his group inside the bus about arrogance and how Takashi and Rei were unfit to be their family. Seiko, Saya, and Shizuka sat at the front of the bus, skeptical of the man's apparent good intentions. The woman with the pink hair then addressed her companions. "This guy is insane. He's preaching like a lunatic," Saya said, crossing her arms. "You're right. He sounds like a religious cult recruiter," Seiko continued, her gaze fixed on him. Saya turned around to face Seiko. "He doesn't sound like one. He is. Look at the people who are actually listening to him." The pair returned a look that said, "We're saved." Over her left shoulder, the swordswoman cast a glance out the window. "Given the road conditions, we'll have to leave the bus to evacuate," Seiko reasoned as she clasped her right thumb and index finger together. "We need to cross the Onbesto Bridge and go to the Eastern Police Station. We're still supposed to meet Kamuro." Saya adjusted her glasses. "You're worried about Kamuro, aren't you? Aren't you worried about your own family?" the pink girl asked, her voice tinged with jealousy. Seiko gave her a sidelong glance. "Of course I am," Seiko says, "but my father is my only family, and he is at the dojo overseas, so the only people I have to worry about are myself and Kamuro." Seiko is unconcerned about Sayu's menacing gaze. "So, where are everyone's houses?" Shizuka asked, changing the subject. Saya spoke up. "On the other side of the bridge, in the same neighborhood as Kamuro's house," Hirano directed their attention. "My parents aren't in the neighborhood," the marksman admits, blushing, "but as long as Takagi is there, I'm willing to go anywhere." Takagi took a comedic stride away from the boy, a creepy expression on her face, oblivious to Seiko's grin. "Hirano, where is your family? Are you close?" asked the latter. Hirano's response was to close his eyes. "My father is a jewelry merchant, so he went to Amsterdam to get supplies, and my mother is a fashion designer, so she went to Paris in." Saya interrupted him. "What kind of ancient story is that?" snarled Saya. Shizuka laughed in delight at Sayu's outburst before turning to face Hirano, who was smiling at her. The gun enthusiast inquired, "How about you, Shizuka? Is there anyone in town?" He noticed her head move in response. Shizuka explained, "I don't have any family, and my other relatives live a long distance away. I know I shouldn't say it, but I think Mr. Shido is a jerk." They all grinned and sneered at her remark. "What should we do?" "I'm not familiar with this area," Seiko asked Saya, who crossed her arms and pondered. "We should absolutely check Onbetsu Bridge first," Saya advised. Shido's attention was drawn to their delicate conversation, so he turned to face them. "What's the problem, everyone? We're supposed to collaborate." The pink-haired savant triumphantly smiled at him. "Thank you for the offer," Saya said, ignoring Shido's scowl, "but we have our own plans, and this isn't a school field trip, so we don't have any obligation to stay with you, and besides, I've never had any of your classes." Shido's fingers entwined with a calm gaze as he faced the opposing party. "If that's what you've decided, please go ahead. I won't stop you. After all, Japan is a free country," Shido said, barely opening his mouth and licking his lips while staring lasciviously at the doctor. "But I'm afraid you'll have to stay, Miss Marikawa." Shido continued as the nurse gulped in response. "Losing the doctor is a significant blow to our current situation. Would you please stay?" Takashi's group was approached by the sect head. "There are students who rely on you." Something surprised Shido. He felt a scar on his left cheek and noticed blood oozing from it. When his supporters saw their commander clutching his face and staring at Hirano with his improvised pistol aimed at them, they erupted. The instructor was taken aback by what he had done to him. "Why you shot at me?" "I missed you on purpose, you douchebag," Koda stated emphatically. "But, I say, you're not a violent student." Shido couldn't say anything because the pistol was aimed directly at him. Koda went on to describe the cruel instructor mocking him and allowing other students to abuse him while doing nothing. Finally, he stated that he will not be afraid to murder living people, beginning with those who mocked him. Shido returned slowly, his voice fearful. "You misinterpreted my intentions." He was cut off when Koda pointed the pistol at his brow. "Enough of your lies," he said, looking over his right shoulder. "You three go out. I'll be there in case he tries to stop you." As she approached the door, Seiko smirked and turned to confront Koda. "You're such a man, I'm impressed," Koda said later as the group raced up the steps, leaving a furious instructor behind. Worked on with Naruto, Rei, and Takashi, the three came to a halt 200 yards away from another overflowing bridge guarded by either Special Defense Forces or American troops. Naruto wasn't expecting such chaos in his first bridge world, but he's here and helping his new friends along the way. He was on the right side of the couple as they continued to stare at the bridge. Rei eventually broke the silence. Should we try a different route or something? Her childhood pal inquired, peering over his right shoulder at her. Takashi snarled, I'm sure they're all the same, maybe every bridge is blocked. What's the point of policing if they're going to block it? Rei scowled, and Naruto noticed Takashi's expression mirroring Rei's. Listen, you guys, the two said to the ninja, we'll figure something out, okay? You can't afford to look down on yourself, you've got to keep going, the two said. They exchanged a small grin when they heard those remarks. They feel as if they've known the blonde adolescent for years and can confide in him despite only knowing him for a day. Takashi instantly recognized something and pulled out his phone to check the time. Damn it, we have to cross the bridge and meet at the Eastern Police Station. Naruto, any ideas? He looked at the ninja, only to see him staring at his phone, as if he had never seen one before. Naruto? The ninja was awakened from his trance. Huh? He exclaimed as he noticed both teens staring at him. I've never seen anything like that before. What is it? Rei and Takashi couldn't believe Naruto, an adolescent their age, hadn't heard of or seen a mobile phone, but the former quickly dismissed it. Look, Takashi, we'll explain that later, and as for your statement, it's easier said than done. When they heard gunshots, the spear martial artist was taken aback. Gunshot? Rei inquired. No, it sounded like. Returning to Takashi's group. Shizuka was walking backwards on the bridge, terrified. You know, maybe we should have stayed with Mr. Shido, Kota said as he fired another spike into one of them while Seiko was gone, knocking another one away. Hold on. You're the one who said he was a douchebag, Saya observed as she approached Shizuka. The nurse tapped her chin, recalling what she had said. I did, but he wouldn't be the first douchebag I met. Kota moved slowly, continuing to fire nails into a few of them while Seiko used her wooden blade to drive another one away. Kota fired another round and stated, just so you know, I'm out of ammo here. Seiko slashed her blade to the right, striking another them out, and turned around a corpse behind her, diagonally swiping at the thing's skull, causing it to fall. Seiko confronted Kota. Would you like to borrow this? She asked, motioning to her wooden blade. No, I'm not a fan of hand-to-hand combat, the firearms enthusiast responded amusingly. The swordswoman grinned and turned to face her enemies. I can't say the same, but I'm actually quite fond of it, the purple hair replied, a cruel gleam in her eyes before charging with her blade drawn. In collaboration with Naruto, Rei, and Takashi, the three were in the passageway, and ahead of them was a vehicle with steps pointing upwards, and the latter immediately recognized what her admirer was up to. Wait a minute, are you crazy? She received no response, but noticed Naruto and Takashi making subtle gestures to each other as they approached the vehicle. Returning to Takashi's group, one of the undead approached Takagi, who stepped back, but Shizuka collided with her, causing both of them to collapse. As a result, their dresses shot up, exposing their underwear, and the gun enthusiast noticed them. As a result, he fell into a trance as he stared at them until Seiko noticed and called him out. Huh? Wondered Kota. Watch out behind you, exclaimed Seiko as she launched her weapon at another them, and dashed towards her friend. When the gun enthusiast turned around and saw another omnivore nearby, he fired another spike through its skull, blood spurting from the exit wound. Another omnivore approached, and Kota grinned as he pulled the trigger, only to hear silence. I'm out, he exclaimed in a frenzy. She was too far away to intervene until she was encircled by a swarm of zombies, and realized it was too much for her. Then she heard a commotion, which drew the zombies' attention, as well as her companions, to the balcony. That sounds like a... Seiko looked up to see a motorbike leap into the air, followed by an unidentified person. The girls smiled as she approached the motorbike driver, Miyamoto and Kamuro. The latter jumped off the falling motorcycle, thrusting her spear into a zombie behind Seiko, landing on it, and spinning her spear in a 360-degree circuit, taking out more zombies. Naruto immediately drew his kunai and hurled it at the zombies near Kota. He grinned and rolled to cushion the blow, then slid into a squat as Tenkaichi drew his sword arm in. Meanwhile, Takashi landed on the bridge and drove towards Kota, clutching his handgun and running over a few corpses. Kota, catch it, he yelled as he tossed the pistol at the gun enthusiast who grabbed it, a maniacal expression on his face. He fired 2 bullets as Takashi passed by, just missing him and hitting their targets. Naruto struck his blade above one of the cannibals' heads, putting an end to its attack, but condemned himself as another one took its place. He sliced it in half as he dangled vertically downward, irritated by the never-ending pattern. The ninja turned to see his companions gathering as more zombies approached, and he knew they were too much for them, but not for him and his ninjutsu. He reappeared in front of his friends, startling them. and swiftly plunged his blade into the earth, creating tiny spider cracks and forming a hand sign. "Naruto, what are you doing? Help us," yelled Takashi as he struck his bat to push another zombie away from the group, but he and his companions stepped back behind Naruto as they approached. The shinobi focused his energy. A powerful gust of wind appeared out of nowhere and threw all of the zombies to the ocean below. Everyone's irises bulged out in an anime-style reaction to what the redhead had just done. Naruto grabbed the handle of his sword, drew the blade from the ground, and flung it to clean up the blood, oblivious to the purple-haired girl admiring the weapon. He faced Takashi's party, sheathed Tenkaichi, and waved to everyone. "Is everyone okay?" He had received no response and was becoming uneasy because they were staring at him. "Hello, Takashi and Rei, how are you?" Finally, Rei responded. "Wait, how did you do that?" "Do what?" Naruto inquired innocently. The pink-haired female yelled at him. "What do you mean? What, you just manipulated the wind to push them back into the river, and you appeared in front of him when you were on the other side? No human can do that." The ninja flinched at the girl's outburst and regained his composure while inspecting everyone for signs of injury and commenting on the girls' appearances. "Man, these girls are something else. The perky blonde one has the biggest bust I've ever seen beside Grandma Tsunade. The pink hair is fine as well, but her outburst tells me she's crude, and the purple hair, I think she's the prettiest of all of them with Rei as her rival." He was then surprised as he was shaken crazy by the chubby boy with glasses. "Dude, you're awesome. How did you do it? Are you a super soldier? Where did you get that awesome uniform?" demanded the gun enthusiast, still jostling the ninja after jerking out of their stunned state. Naruto adjusted himself and waited until the rotund adolescent relaxed and realized everyone was staring at him. "Look, once we get to a secure and safe location, I'll explain how I manipulated the wind as well as my attire." The pink-haired woman arched her left brow. "What do you mean, we? You're not a member of our group." Everyone looked at her. "How can we trust you?" Sage, the blonde, deadpanned. "I just saved your group from those things eating you with Rei and Takashi." Saya felt a touch on her right shoulder and realized it belonged to Takashi, a close friend. "We can trust him. He saved Rei and me and also promised to get us back to you guys and get all of us safe. He's kept his word so far, so I'd give him a chance if I were you." The commander then removed his hand from the female genius shoulder. Takashi's group understood that the black-haired adolescent has natural leadership skills and they trust his judgment, plus the blonde adolescent exudes a serenity that puts them at ease, and he just helped save them from the zombies. The purple-haired girl approached Naruto and smiled as she extended her hand. "My name is Seiko Busujimi, and thank you for saving us." The sage returned her smile and took her hand, shaking it before letting go. The others quickly followed suit and introduced themselves to the visitor. "My name is Hirano Koda, and I'm a long-distance fighter." "My name is Shizuka Marikawa, and I'm a doctor. Thank you for your assistance in returning Miyamoto and Kamuro to us," the perky blonde said to the ninja. Naruto turned to face the pink-haired girl after hearing her name, and she reluctantly agreed with the others. "My name is Saya Takagi, and what is yours?" Naruto grinned. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, and before you make assumptions, it means a maelstrom, not fish cake, understand?" His right eye moved slightly as he heard snickers from the gun admirer and the busty doctor, but he stopped. "Now that we're all together, does anyone have any ideas for our next move, because the sun is setting?" Everyone's eyes widened as they noticed the sun setting and the light gradually fading into darkness. They are all aware that the city is more dangerous at night, with zombies roaming around and the dangers of making noise greatly increased. "So, what should we do? The bridges are closed, and the river is too strong for us to cross. I don't think going upriver makes sense." Takagi observed the river below and the overpass they were on. Shizuka quickly lifted her palm. "I know, we could go to my friend's place, which is only a short walk away." "What, your boyfriend's place?" Takagi remarked. No, it's nothing like that. It's just my girlfriend's place," Shizuka joked as Kota and Takagi laughed, "and she gave me a key, so I can look over the place while she's away." Kota pondered, his finger on his jaw. "Is it a high-rise? Does it have a good view of the surrounding area?" He received approval from the doctor, and she continued. "Yes, there's also a store and a car. It's one of those military cars that looks like a tank." Shizuka swayed her arms, allowing her assets to dance a little. "It's this big," Shizuka exclaimed. "I don't care about a car as much as I care about a shower. I've never felt so dirty in my life," Saya murmured, placing her hand behind her head. Kota looked at the pink brilliance with love in his eyes. "I couldn't agree with you more," said Kota. Takagi kicked him in the face after taking offense to the remark, and the blonde samurai laughed, but he stopped when Takagi gave him a death stare. "I'm going to look around with her," Takashi said, drawing everyone's attention. "Stay here with the others, and we'll return once it's secure," he said to Naruto, bowing as he saw the child and the doctor vanish into the distance. Later that night, Takashi and Shizuka immediately returned the party to safety. After the automated light monitor detected their arrival, they arrived at the flat. The entryway light turned on, revealing a massive car, causing the firearms enthusiast to scream with delight. "It's a Humvee, and it's also the military model," Kota explained, his mouth dangling and his hands quivering. Even though he had no idea what it was, Naruto couldn't help but admire the transit device's design and development. Takagi then inquired as to how Shizuka's companion could afford such a vehicle, to which Rei responded that the barrier would keep them out. The ninja drew his black sword with his clan insignia hanging when he and the others heard moaning from upstairs. He took a step in front of the group when he saw Takashi take a firearm from Takagi. "I'll take the front, Takashi. Cover the right side, Rei. Cover the left side, Kota. Support the back, and Seiko, just in case." Everyone nodded in agreement, and Naruto reciprocated the gesture. "Let's go," the prickly blonde elder said, kicking open the fence doors ahead of him and leading the group forward. The group's clothing was stained with blood a few minutes later, including Naruto, who had a few spots on his flak jacket and some on his forehead. He wiped his brow with a cloth from his pouch, flung his blade to remove the blood, and quickly sheathed Tenkaichi. The young Uzumaki then turned around to face his new friends, nodding and moving forward. "Come on, guys. You'll need a good rest after what you've been through," he said quietly, and they all went to the flat, except the shinobi, after 2 days of fighting and enduring pandemonium. Naruto was the last person to leave the apartment, making quick hand seals before striking his right palm on the ground. Fuinjutsu symbols radiated from his palm and spread to the apartment's perimeter and the locked gate. Naruto then straightened up and exhaled while brushing his hair. "There's nothing like an alarm system to warn you of trouble." "Thank you very much, Mito," the samurai said as he entered and closed the door. XXXXX After 2 days of battling the now dubbed walkers and fatigue, the group of surviving teens discovered a brief respite complete with a food-stocked freezer, a functional car, and the mother of all amenities, a hot water shower. "Oh, this feels nice," Rei said as she slid into the spa, which was full of water and detergent, and Shizuka sat at the other end. The cheerful doctor exhaled a sigh of relief as the cold and soothing water touched her filthy body. "It feels like I'm melting away." For obvious reasons, the ladies and gentlemen of the company decided to take a shower together rather than in shifts. While sitting on a bench with Seiko and a reflection in front of them, Saya grabbed a bottle. "Is this shampoo?" Despite their world being overrun with zombies, the girl is as fussy as they come. "Good God, you're gigantic," Rei says, gazing at Shizuka's massive endowments as the latter slightly supports them. Shizuka smiled. "I understand. I hear that a lot." The lance martial artist laughed slightly. "Ha, almost impossible gigantic." The girl responded by jokingly grasping the doctor's enormous breasts, causing her to scream in response. "Remind me again why we'd have to take showers at the same time." The pink hair savant twitched her left eye. "You know why, Takagi," Seiko said as she washed her arm. Saya exhaled in response as she returned her gaze to the female pair squabbling in the bathtub. She was startled and immediately faced forward, furiously scrubbing her hair. "Yeah, but given the circumstances, I don't think we should do this," Saya said, oblivious to what her companion next to her was planning. The swordswoman turned the faucet to cold and sprayed the pink hair, causing her to scream in response. Seiko closed her eyes and smiled. "Wow, I didn't realize you had such a nice voice. Boys must be falling for you all over high school." Saya responded by dumping a pail of cool water on her back, causing her to whimper in delight. She smiled as she looked into the minds of the company's employees. "Hey, you started it," Saya observed. Following that, the females began to jokingly scream at each other, allowing 3 specific guys to listen. "Upstairs bedroom. They sound like they're having fun," Takashi observed as he listened to the noises. He and his buddy, Kota, discovered a few crates of ammo in one of the compartments, with the latter attempting to access the other because he suspected it contained firearms. "Would you like to take a look? You know we're supposed to, right?" Kota inquired as he attempted to open the latch. Takashi shook his head. "No, thanks, man. I actually don't want to die." When Takashi and the gun admirer heard splashing, they turned to face Naruto, who was carrying a pail of water with a clean cloth on the side of it. He placed the pail in front of the bed, facing the couple, and then removed his blade and placed it beside him. The samurai then removed his wounded combat jacket, placed it in the receptacle, and began cleaning it with the cloth. "Hey, Naruto," Kota said, drawing the blonde's attention to himself, "do you want to sneak a peek at the girls?" Naruto shrugged his shoulders. "I actually want to live, thank you very much, and nothing good can come from it, believe me," he said as he scuffed the blood off his overcoat. Takashi and Hirano both raised their brows, the latter with a smile on his face. "Oh, you got caught, didn't you?" Naruto asked, shaking his head and looking at the pair. "No, but my late sensei did. When he was young, he spied on his fellow teammate, and when he got caught, he paid for it. He received several rib fractures and several organ damage by the girl." Naruto continued cleaning, smirking when he saw Hirano's terrified expression. The ninja's smile changed into an impish grin, frightening Hirano and making him sweat bullets profusely. "Go ahead and send me flowers for your funeral." Images of females with wicked expressions, weaponry, and the desire to hurt overpowered the gun enthusiast to the point where he almost wet himself, while Naruto cackled and gripped his sides. "Shush, Naruto, don't draw attention to ourselves," Hirano said, trying to quiet the mystery ninja for a few minutes until he eventually settled down. "Would you like to help us open this door?" groaned the marksman, adjusting his spectacles. Tick marks appeared on the duo's skulls when they heard the women remark and stuck their tongues at the ninja, who inserted his tongue as well before continuing to wipe the blood away. "Fine, we don't need you. Come on, Kamuro," Hirano said as he wedged a wrench between the doors, the latter grasping the top of the wrench. "Ready. Now," yelled the two, applying more weight and force until the door gave way, causing Takashi to lose his balance and fall on his buttocks. "Wow, that hurt," the commander exclaimed as he rubbed his back. Hirano peered inside and smiled like a lunatic as he examined a firearm from the container. Naruto's pupils dilate in amazement when his rotund friend brings a larger replica of the pistol Takashi pulled on him when he first arrived in their world. "Man, the technology here is ridiculously more advanced than weaponry and transportation in my world," he said, continuing to listen to Kota talk about the other weapons like the crazed fan he is until he heard screaming and looked up to see Takashi pointing one of the guns at Kota. "Hey man, even if it's not loaded, don't ever point that thing at anyone," Kota joked before assuming a serious expression. "The only time you should use it is to kill." "Yeah, but I hope it doesn't come to that, you know," Takashi said as he finished cleaning the blood from his windbreaker and hung it to dry on the fence. The samurai quickly realized that if one of them became contaminated by the walkers, the only option was to kill them. When he heard clashing, he turned around to see the rotund gun admirer attempting to raise his blade, but it wouldn't move for some reason, perplexing the three. "What are you doing, Hirano?" the blonde asked, her gaze uneasy on him. He, I just wanted to see your sword," Kota replied, his efforts futile. Naruto tilted his brow and walked over to his friend, motioning him to take a step back, which he did. The ninja then grasped the blade and sheath's handle and easily lifted it up. Finally, he confronted both Kota and Takashi, the former greatly perplexed. "I can pick it up just fine. Are you sure you weren't playing?" "I'm sure I wasn't fooling around," Kota said, pointing to the blonde. "How come you can lift it so easily and I can't?" wondered the Tenkaichi user, slinging the sword over his right shoulder. "Could it be that only I can use Tenkaichi because it's a part of me and whatnot?" He was interrupted by Hirano's request for Takashi to assist with loading the rounds into the mags, so he went outside to the terrace. Naruto smiled as he stepped out onto the terrace, leaned forward on the handrail, and gazed up at the stars and clouds floating by. "Even if it's just a short break, it sure is peaceful tonight," Takashi observed after a few minutes of silence. Takashi took out a pair of binoculars and peered through them at the nearby bridge. After a few seconds, Naruto inquired, "What's going on over there, Takashi?" "Chaos," the black-haired commander said as he removed his glasses. "The police are holding a barricade and keeping the uninfected away from the walkers, but they're not letting the uninfected into the city." In response, the blonde exhaled and ran his hand through his hair before returning to the bedroom and sitting beside Kota on the floor, leaning against the bed. He saw his friend load the final rounds into the magazine before ramming it into the gun and putting it in front of him. Before bothering him, Kota looked at the redhead, admiring his attire. "Hey, Naruto," the blonde said, opening his left eye only and looking at the corner of his eye, "can you tell us about yourself and your ability to manipulate wind now that we're in a safe place?" Takashi entered after hearing his fellow student and took a seat next to Kota, both gazing at the ninja. "Look, my life is a very long story, and I don't like to repeat it because it's a huge drag. I'll tell you guys about it when everyone is here, understand?" Naruto received nods from the pouted high schoolers, then closed his eyes as he went into a much-needed rest. Naruto's mental landscape. The young sage opened his eyes to find himself in front of his companion, Kurama, when he felt his awareness being drawn. What exactly is it, Kurama? Naruto, it's time to start training, the fox said, startling his Jinchuriki. Really? Okay, then. Can't let either of us get weak just because we're in another world. Not that I'm saying you'd get weak, Kurama, because you're the strongest tailed beast. Naruto blinked briefly before slipping into his frog kata stance in the former crouching with his tail swinging freely behind him. Are you prepared, kid? Everything is ready, Kurama. Naruto leapt into the air and was about to strike the fox in the face when an unexpected tremor occurred, causing the blonde to lose his focus while in midair. He received a bodily response rather than a vocal response when he asked, "What the hell was that?" "Oh," Naruto exclaimed as he was thrown through the air until he landed on the ground, sliding across the water-soaked floor until he came to a halt 20 yards from the fox. Naruto made a checkmark on his palm and pointed his finger at the beast as the latter smiled. "That was a cheap shot right there, and you know it, Kurama," the blonde sage remarked, chuckling at his Jinchuriki's antics, but his smirk remained. "You should go check it out. Your new friends must be waiting for you," Kurama said as the muttering Jinchuriki walked away. In actual life, Naruto muttered quietly to himself, "Damn cheating fox," as he opened his eyes. He looked to his right and saw Kota standing there, all spooked out, until he looked to his left and found himself dumbfounded, his mouth slightly agape. Takashi looked down as he touched the towel-bound doctor's enormous assets before quickly withdrawing them. Takashi apologized timidly, "I'm sorry." He noticed Naruto with his mouth agape and was about to say something when the busty doctor cut him off. "Kota, darling," the inebriated blonde said as she crawled over to the bed's corner, the gun admirer frozen in place. "Darling, who are you?" As the doctor approached Hirano, the samurai quickly rose beside Takashi. When she kissed him on the cheek, the boy's face flushed furiously, and both men sweated as blood spurted hilariously from the gun lover's nostrils before collapsing. "Looks like he can't handle a simple kiss," Naruto observed before Shizuka fixed her gaze on him and pounced, but the former was quick on his feet and placed the unwitting Takashi in front of him, who reddened when the doctor rested his head on his chest before falling unconscious. Takashi demanded of the grinning samurai, "Naruto, why did you do that?" "Because I can," Naruto replied simply. He walked to the steps, leaving Takashi behind, and continued down until he reached the bottom, his face flushed excessively crimson by the scene he's now witnessing in the kitchen. The female Kenjutsu fighter was dressed in a sarong that covered her naked body, black underwear, and a single ponytail of purple hair. She was busy preparing something and didn't notice the flushed blonde until he hit himself hard. Seiko flushed when she noticed Naruto's flushes. "I apologize for the outfit. My clothes were bloody and are in the washing machine. This is all I can wear for the time being." No, you look great, it's just. I wasn't expecting any of you ladies to be out of the shower already," Naruto said as he noticed Rei approaching him in her PJs, knowing she was inebriated like Shizuka upstairs because her eyes were drooping and her speech was slurred. "Hey, Rei," said the Jinchuriki. The spear martial artist asked, "Where is Takashi?" Naruto motioned up, and the girl stumbled upward as the blonde ninja strolled into the kitchen and took a container of water from the freezer. He turned to face Seiko when he noticed a pair of eyes staring at him, but she was looking at Tenkaichi, so he grinned. "Can't stop looking at my sword, huh?" Naruto inquired, slightly flushing his female companion. He drew the black sword, blade down, motioning Seiko to grab the handle. "Really?" Seiko exclaimed, stretching her palm to handle the sword after seeing Naruto nod. Sage, the redhead, was expecting something to happen when his female opponent grabbed the blade and held it as if it were nothing. Then he overheard his colleague say something. "That is unusual." "What's interesting, Kurama?" Naruto wondered. "It appears that your sword can be wielded by others if you grant them permission to do so. Remember when the fat kid tried but couldn't pick up Tenkaichi? He didn't ask for your permission, are you allowing him? For her, you granted her permission to wield the blade and nothing happened," replied the tailed fox, his Jinchuriki briefly nodding as he watched the beauty in front of him admire his weapon. "That's intriguing. Do you think the old man kept this knowledge hidden or didn't know it himself?" inquired the whiskered samurai. Before responding, the fox paused for a few seconds. He got a mental "yes" from Naruto and continued, "He couldn't have known about it. We should take precautions and observe everything about the blade to fully understand it." "Sounds like a plan, Kurama," Naruto said, breaking the mental link with his companion just in time to hear Seiko's question. Does this very fine sword have a name? Yeah, it's called Tenkaichi, Naruto agreed, his cheeks flushing as he tries not to let his late sensei's deviant ways take over. Damn you, pervy sage, he corrected himself after realizing he was staring at her. I'm sorry for staring at you like that. It's just that you're really beautiful, Naruto apologized, massaging the back of his neck. Seiko burst out laughing when she heard the blonde's praise and was thinking about the time Naruto would tell her and the rest of the group about himself and his apparent ability to control the wind and his anomalous speed. She couldn't help but feel safe in the company of the blonde fencer, and she admired his compassion, honesty, and physical appearance. He'd be eye candy for females their age, as well as possibly older women. Naruto extended his palm in front of Seiko, who realized he wanted his sword back and said, "Here you go," handing it to the ninja and watching him sheath it. Takashi was dragging a passed-out and towel-covered Shizuka on his back when the pair heard footfall on the stairs. "How long do you think he'll notice you?" the samurai asked the purple-haired girl. "Not for long," Seiko replied proudly, and Naruto looked at her, surprised by her reaction, before smirking. Takashi, who appeared tired and indifferent, went to the fridge and took a container of water before returning to the steps, until he spotted Naruto and the half-naked Seiko and covered his nostrils to prevent it from leaking. "Haha, you were right, Seiko. It didn't take him long," Naruto said, trying not to laugh as Seiko smiled at the awestruck commander before continuing to prepare. Takashi was still staring at Seiko when the samurai decided to let him watch the performance, so he went to the living room and sat with his eyes closed. Naruto's mental landscape. "Fox, where have you gone? You and I have unfinished business," yelled Naruto. The tailed beast appeared soon after, smiling impishly at his Jinchuriki. "Yes, we do," Kurama replied, waiting for Naruto to continue, "but first, change the location in here, it'd be better if we had a more appropriate training battleground." Naruto squinted for a few seconds before beaming as he processed what the powerful tailed beast had just asked him. "Sure, and I couldn't agree more." The warrior closed his eyes and concentrated for a minute before opening his eyes and surveying his newly acquired territory. Vast swaths of lush open field, with towering vegetation and bushes taller than him but shorter than Kurama. On his right, he discovers a massive grotto next to a cascade and realizes it is ideal for his companion, of whom I speak. Wait a minute. Where is that big lug anyway? A perplexed Naruto wondered, spinning around to look for his fighting partner. Man, while I'm out sightseeing, Kurama took advantage of the opportunity to hide and is most likely planning his attack right now. Why am I talking to myself in this manner? He continued to search for the tailed beast until he noticed a silhouette towering over him and looked up, his eyes bulging out anime style, to see his opponent free falling with his talons aimed at him. Naruto was terrified and jumped a long distance backwards before the fox fell to the ground, stirring up dust. When the dust settled, Kurama looked to his right and saw a furious Naruto staring at him with clenched teeth, and he innocently asked, "What's with the look, Naruto? Are you kidding me, Kurama? You took advantage and tried to kill me just now. I thought we were friends," exclaimed Naruto, pointing to the fox with his right arm. "You should always be on guard, Naruto, no matter what," the multi-tailed beast replied. The ninja took the advice and admitted that he did let his guard down while looking around the new mindscape, and slipped into his frog kata stance, his partner smirking at the gesture and crouched. "This isn't like the last time, Naruto. You caught me off guard this time, but it won't happen again." "That is where you were mistaken, Kurama. It will happen again," Naruto said as golden irises with toad-like pupils and an orange-reddish coloring around his eyes emerged. When Kurama saw the change, he squinted his eyes and said, "HHMM, Sage Mode," before charging at Tenkaichi with his Jinchuriki. Naruto obliged by charging at the fox with his weapon drawn, and when they drew close, both opponents launched their swords and claws. 10 minutes later, Tenkaichi was grounded into the earth, and Naruto perched on the ground with his forearms supporting him, breathing slightly. He peers across to see Kurama laying down and breathing slightly. Jinchuriki and Tailed Beast both had scrapes and injuries, with the latter disabling his Sage Mode and his respiration becoming slightly difficult as a result. Soon after, the pair began to chuckle after one of the greatest fighting bouts they'd ever had, until the blonde abruptly halted. "Was that a good workout, Kurama?" said Naruto, beaming. Kurama laughed. "We could have gone a lot further, Naruto, and you know it." "Hey, I can't afford to be weak in the outside world while I'm training in here," the samurai observed. "Naruto, my and your healing abilities can take care of that," Kurama responded, making the shinobi gasp as he remembered his own healing abilities, with the former groaned, "Really, Naruto, you got to start remembering the important things." The Jinchuriki was about to say something when he heard an alert in his mind. The Fuinjutsu outside the perimeter. It's been triggered. I've got to check it out. He got up and said, Kurama, we'll continue this conversation another time. Naruto taking Tenkaichi and sheathing it and saying, I'll be back. The elder then vanished from the mindscape, leaving the fox to slumber in his new chambers inside the grotto. In actual life, his eyes opened abruptly and he rose swiftly to where he heard Seiko upstairs. Naruto arrived at the location with shinobi speed, surprising both the swordswoman and the rifle enthusiast. Naruto. Oh, man, good timing, Koda exclaimed as he fired another round down the street level. What's going on? A solemn Naruto inquired as he approached the terrace. Seiko gave him the binoculars and gestured across the street to a home. The samurai focused his gaze through the binoculars on the home where he saw Takashi grasp a little girl and carry her on his back as he leapt on the fences, but he was encircled by a large group of pedestrians. The sage took off his glasses and placed them on the floor before tightening his headpiece, which Seiko and Koda noticed as the latter fired another round. Naruto? Seiko asked. Seiko, get ready to open the door and the fence for Takashi and the girl. Koda, keep maintaining cover in whatever happens. Don't let the others out of this apartment. Understand? Naruto looks at her. Seiko, get ready to open the door and the fence for Takashi and the girl. Koda, keep maintaining cover in whatever happens. Don't let the others out of this apartment. Understand? Alright, Naruto said, drawing Tenkaichi in his right arm, sword arm. Time to call their attention, placing his left index finger and thumb on his spare arm and whistle loudly. The sound echoed throughout the area before dying away, and the zombies turned away from the pair on the fence and toward the source of the sound. Takashi asked as he carried the girl, who whistled. He looked to his right and saw the blonde fencer across the street. He's drawing their attention so we can get back to the apartment. Hold on, okay. The girl said, and the boy jumped off the fence and raced back to the fence, trailed by a tiny white canine. He discovered Seiko waiting by the fence and entered the structure through it. Meanwhile, Naruto examined the large group and discovered that they were surrounded by the narrow street with the walls. He smiled as he directed wind chakra into his sword and swung it horizontally, releasing a blue crescent-shaped chakra. As the assault made its way to the unwary throng of zombies, the energy's blade sliced the walls, leaving pointed lines on them, cutting through like paper and splattering blood on the floor. After Koda was stunned out of his consciousness after severing the last wanderer, the chakra assault faded. Naruto jumped on the wall and climbed the wall with his chakra-imbued feet after retiring Tenkaichi and watching the enormous puddle of blood filling the street in front of him. When he got to the balcony and away from the wall, the gun admirer with stars in his eyes grabbed his arms again and shook him like a rag doll. Dude, how did you do that? You've got to teach me that, exclaimed Koda, continuing to jostle the samurai until Takashi and Seiko yanked him away from the blonde, who had fallen to the ground. Swirls replaced both of Naruto's pupils as a result of the trembling. Rei, Shizuka, and Saya all joined the uproar after hearing Kota's statement. What happened to Naruto? Rei asked, his gaze fixed on him. Takashi replied, who is the better question, aiming his gaze at the gun admirer, who had finally calmed down. Koda. Saya said as she approached the former, adjusting her spectacles, why did you shake Naruto again? He did an incredible thing. He unleashed some kind of energy from his sword and it cut through the walkers like nothing, and then he walked on the walls like it was second nature, Koda said. Naruto grumbled, shaking his head, and stood up, wiping both of his arms free from his overweight friend's grasp until he became aware of everyone's attention on him. Why are you staring at me like that? First, your wind manipulation, your inhumane speed, and now you can walk on walls and manipulate energy, Saya said, staring at the blonde. The pink girl's gaze made Naruto uneasy, and he soon realized that everyone was staring at him, waiting for a response. Naruto sighed and quietly praised the action as he considered his response. Sorry, guys, he pretended to sigh and extend his arms to sell it, but I'm exhausted from slaying the walker, and you still need rest. I'll explain everything, tomorrow. The ninja walked past the group and downstairs, where he slept on the floor with Tenkaichi beside him on one of the sofa cushions. Meanwhile, the others were debating the ninja's suggestion and decided to sleep as well, with Shizuka snoozing with the young girl and the canine. Early morning. The next day Naruto shifted in his sleep, dreaming of his defeat at the hands of the 10 Tails, until he felt a moist substance on his face. What's going on? He asked, opening his eyes and looking to the left, where a tiny white dog with a wagging tail stood. The ninja sat up in surprise, staring at the tiny dog before beaming and petting it while standing up. He stretched his arms, thighs, and back before grabbing Tenkaichi, cracking a few joints in the process. He looked at the wall clock and thought to himself, 7 a.m. Huh. The samurai looked around and saw the nurse with the little girl in the savon still snoozing on different sofas and assumed that everyone else was asleep as well. Hee. I'm sure they don't mind if I get some fresh air. His nose picked up an unfamiliar and unpleasant scent. Realizing he smelled terrible, I should probably take a shower first. He grabbed a towel before entering the bathroom, undressed, and enjoyed the heavenly touch of the shower. He walked into the room 5 minutes later, his hair freshly dried, his clothes and headpiece still on. Naruto ascended the stairs to find Takashi on the floor, Rei and Seiko on the bed, and Koda on the opposite side of the room on the floor. He walked silently past them while putting on the flak jacket, opened the door without letting the dog out, and closed it before slinging his black blade over his right shoulder and leaping high across the street to the structure in front of him. He then jumped across buildings as he explored his surroundings. "Kurama, what's up?" he said as he leapt across another building until he heard his partner's voice and came to a halt near the edge. "I've been thinking about how people dress in this world. I think you should change your ninja gear," the fox replied. Naruto arched his brow. "What do you mean? His samurai robes were in excellent condition. Is one available?" "I mean, you should blend in with the people here. Your attire clearly distinguishes you from everyone," Kurama suggested, prompting the sage to think about it. His samurai outfit clearly reflects a hazy design, and with the world as it is, they can see him as a significant threat and will attack him if given the chance. I think you have a good point, Kurama. Thanks, bud, Naruto said, earning the fox's nod. "Looks like I have some shopping to do." "Can't believe I just said that," he said as he jumped from one buildings to another across from an apparel store and a few pedestrians. "What a fantastic way to start the day." Hey, I rhymed, he. Naruto jumped off the building and landed in a squat, causing a minor commotion while drawing Tenkaichi with its chain and the Uzumaki emblem hanging from his neck. The walkers turned to face the source of the noise and began walking towards the gleeful ninja. "Let's dance," he said as he pointed his blade at an obese zombie. As he spoke, the ninja charged and slashed the walker in half with his sword. He then leapt up for an aerial attack on another walker, grabbing its head, before spinning quickly to kick the third walker who charged at him, sending it crashing through the store's display window. With a sorrowful expression on his face, he moved towards the last walker who was hobbling towards him due to his lack of legs, before gripping Tenkaichi's blade downward with both hands on the handle and thrusting it through the walker's skull. Naruto exhaled as he removed the blade from the head with his sword arm, causing blood to flow beneath the cranium. Before striding over the corpse and into the shop, he swung his blade to the right, leaving a small blood spatter on the street. The blonde ninja drew a kunai from his waist bag in a reverse hold and prepared his blade as he entered the building, his ninja senses on high alert. "Alright, where is the men's clothing section?" thought Naruto as he climbed the stairs to the second floor, where he discovered men's clothing. "Bingo," he said, stowing the kunai and jabbing the Tenkaichi to the ground next to him in search of clothing to complete his new outfit. After a few moments, Naruto put on his ninja outfit and said, "There we go. This should help me blend in with this world." He was dressed in dark blue pants, a black belt, a black t-shirt, and an orange windbreaker, while still wearing his shoes and headgear. He also hid the waist bag beneath the jacket and took a medium scroll, unsealed it with a fuinjutsu seal in the middle, and put the ninja outfit on top of it. Naruto made a few seals, scrolled it up, and placed it inside the bag before the garments vanished in a cloud of smoke. He eventually grabbed Tenkaichi and dashed out of the shop, leaping onto a building. He came to a halt when he sensed an enticing fragrance emanating from the kitchen and rushed with a third of his speed, breaking the window glass. Naruto was about to stuff his cheeks with delectable platters of eggs, bacon, sausage, pastries, and juins when he noticed something staring at him from the left. He noticed Seiko, Rei, Saya, and Shizuka in their costumes, with minor changes, staring at him with shocked expressions, then turned his head to his right and noticed Takashi, Koda, and the young girl staring at him with the same expression. Hello, guys, good morning, Naruto humbly said. "Good morning, Naruto, and nice clothes," Koda said. "Thank you, man," Naruto said as he watched the rotund child reach for a piece of bacon but was stopped by Saya's utensil. "Ow, Takagi, that hurts," Koda grumbled as he massaged his palm while staring at the pink-haired woman. "Yes, it should," Takagi said, taking one of the platters with Seiko, Shizuka, and Rei and walking over to a table with enough seats for everyone, including the young girl. Alright, everyone, dig in, Ray encouraged. You don't have to tell me twice, Naruto said as he ate the eggs, bacon, and sausages, before noticing the lady and asking, "What's your name?" "My name is Alice," the girl cheerfully announced as everyone else smiled. Several minutes later, the group was seated on their chairs, calm because their bellies were full of food that would help them live a little longer, when Saya made a slight gesture and the doctor instructed Shizuka to take a shower and directed her to the restroom. Everyone's attention was drawn to the blonde ninja, who was chomping on a bacon when he noticed the looks and gulped it, while the girl was out of earshot and in the shower. "What do you want to know?" Naruto mumbled. "Your ability to manipulate the wind and your speed, first and foremost," Saya replied. "Well, I used my chakra to control the wind," the sage confirmed, as everyone looked at him with a puzzled expression. "You have no idea what that is? I should have guessed." "What exactly is this chakra?" Ray wondered. Chakra is a combination of physical energy in the body and spiritual energy within every living being. Naruto trembled as he slid the final two words, which everyone heard. Takagi asked, suspiciously, "My world?" "I'm not from this world," Naruto said, causing everyone's eyes to expand until the gun enthusiast's eyes transformed into enormous stars, prompting the latter to ask the next question. "Are you a superhuman?" Hirano exclaimed. "I suppose you could say that," the sage continued, "but I'm not because my people and I can use chakra to increase our strength, speed, endurance, stamina, and techniques." Takashi raised an eyebrow. "Techniques? In my world, the ninja and I use 3 types of skills: ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu." The leader's eyes widened along with everyone else's, and the stars in Koda's eyes grew larger. Taijutsu is basically hand-to-hand combat. Genjutsu is the field of using illusions to confuse opponents, and ninjutsu requires us to use hand. Without the father of all ninja, the sage of the 6 paths, none of this would have been possible. He defeated the most powerful demon in my world. The 10-tailed beast, Naruto continued, but its revival also meant the end of all life. The sage divided the beast chakra into 9 distinct beings known as the tailed beasts and G. Everyone's thoughts were swept away when they learned about this discovery, and they all had the same question, but Takagi beat them to it. "Could you demonstrate how to use chakra?" "No," the Jinchuriki replied, shaking his head, "because we were taught from a young age to develop our chakra pathways and chakra circulatory system, making them stronger over time so that we could use chakra properly. If you used chakra now, you'd die. So you're only going to be here for 2 months, then you're going to another world to get one of these sealing keys?" Kota asked, and the samurai agreed. "Yes," Naruto replied, "but don't worry, I'll get you guys to a safe and secure facility." Everyone's brow furrowed as they heard the final few lines. "What do you mean by a safe and secure facility?" Shizuka responded. "This is only a temporary residence. We need to relocate to a much more secure location. How long do you think those things will barge through the doors?" the ninja inquired. Takashi thought about it and realized Naruto made a good point, plus he and Rei need to find their parents, and with the ninja's help, they have a better chance of success. He's right, everyone agreed as they looked at Takashi. "We need to get out of here, cross the river, and find our parents." With that, the group decided to meet outside by the Humvee in 10 minutes. 20 minutes later, the group gathered around the Humvee, with the females loading the guns inside and Shizuka starting the engine. Everyone climbed aboard, and the blonde doctor stomped on the accelerator, blasting through the barrier while the gun enthusiast yelled, "Woo!" Meanwhile, Naruto was thinking about how his friends reacted to the news and smiling to himself as he closed his eyes for a nap, not realizing Seiko was also smiling at him. From Naruto's world, somewhere along the coast, a massive island with equal-sized mountains, massive lifeless forests, and looming black clouds. In the middle of the island, a monster sleeps with its appendages by itself. The being's eye opened slightly, revealing a swarm of Shuriken tomos snarling as if bothered by an unseen power or irritation. To be continued.
That's it for this part, guys. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, subscribe for more, and thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.